Hey guys, and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review, I'm taking a look at the second B&M Stores exclusive set, which is the Monster Set, featuring the Cyber Controller from Tomb of the Cybermen, a Cyberman from Attack of the Cybermen, and General Staal from the Sontaran stratagem Poison Sky. But according to the box, it's Sontaran Score. So once again, let's begin by taking a look at the packaging. So first up, the figures come packaged in this lovely window box featuring the new Collector's Series style guide featuring the classic TV movie Jon Pertwee logo. On the back of the box, we get to have a look at the figures themselves, and this time the box even tells us the years that these characters appeared in Doctor Who. So out of the box, let's begin with the earliest monster, which is the Cyber Controller from Tomb of the Cybermen. Now, this is going to be a great set for people who missed out on this Cyber Controller figure, because this Cyber Controller figure was originally a builder figure. So looking at the articulation first, there's no articulation at the head due to the way that the helmet is sculpted. He has articulation at the shoulders so that they swivel back and forth. He has bicep articulation, however this is hindered by the tubing on the sides of his arms, elbow articulation, wrist articulation, articulation at the waist, and then articulation at the hips, which swivel forwards, and also at the knees and at the ankles. So very much the standard articulation for those early 5-inch figures. So let's take a look at the details. Well, the first thing that we need to talk about is the fact that this figure isn't just a re-release, it's actually a repaint. So this time round, the Cyber Controller has a much darker grey head. Now, it's very difficult to say whether or not this is more accurate because most of the pictures of the Cyber Controller exist in black and white. I did have a little hunt around to see if I could find any colour pictures, and the only picture I could find was of the stunt Cyber Controller helmet that was used when Toberman picks up the Cyber Controller and throws him across the room at the end of episode 4. And you can see that it is a darker grey than perhaps the original figure was. And it also features a tiny bit of silver, which is the silver that you can see painted around the rim. Now, when you look at the Cyber Controller helmet in the episode, it's incredibly difficult to tell whether it's silver. It's very hard to say because it's all in black and white. However, I really like this new darker grey colouring. As you can see, the paint apps are very crisp and nicely done. The black around the mouth and the eyes seems ever so slightly thicker. Unfortunately, on my one, you can see that the black is just ever so slightly out on his left eye, but it's not all that noticeable when you have the figure in front of you. And again, you can see he has this really cool transparent capped dome which sits above the sort of orange brain inside with the grey veins painted on top. Looking at the rest of the figure, it is just a solid silver bodysuit, but they have painted the tubing on the arms and on the legs slightly darker from the golf balls, which have just a lighter silver. So that's nice. That really helps the tubing stand out from the rest of the costume. And then he has the silver boots with the metallic grey soles. So overall, yeah, it's a great figure. I really, really do like this Cyber Controller figure. Could actually be more accurate than the original. It's pretty difficult to say. Personally, I think I actually prefer this one to the original. I think that little bit of silver, that darker grey, just adds a little more something to it, just really helps it pop on the shelf. So that's a really nice figure. And like I said, great for people who missed out on the Build-A-Figure the first time round. Then we skip forward to the 1980s with a Cyberman from Attack of the Cybermen. So this is the first time that we have had a standard Cyberman from this story released. We've seen a Cyber Scout, the black stealth Cyberman, as it were, and we've also had a Rogue Cyberman, which is basically this figure, but without the detachable faceplate and without the green and pinks and the sort of dirty washes to it. So this time round, it is a very standard Cyberman. What sets it apart from an Earthshock Cyberman is the boots. The boots on these guys are lace-up boots, not the big, thick, heavy ski boots that they wore. There's not an awful lot to say here that is different from the original. So I'll just go through the articulation. There's no articulation at the head per se. I mean, you can move it a little bit. The shoulders swivel, the biceps also swivel. He has elbow articulation, articulation at the wrists. At the waist, his hips can move forward and out to the sides. He has articulation at the knee, and he has swivel joints at the top of his boots. In terms of sculpting, basically what I have said for all of these previous 80s style Cybermen in the past, an absolutely stunning figure. I think that the Earthshock Attack Cybermen probably one of the best sculpted figures in the line. The amount of detail is phenomenal. All of the piping on the back, all of the textures of the netting, the silver with the dark wash as well, just to make those little elements stand out. It really is a fantastic figure. Looking at the helmet, it is ever so slightly different from the Earthshock one. This time they've painted the tubes that go from the earmuff sections, as it were, down to the back. They're now painted silver, they're not transparent. He still features the transparent mouthpiece, which for some reason, I don't know why they keep doing this, but that's incorrect, because by this point they were painted silver. So it's very strange that they paint the tube silver, but they wouldn't paint the jawpiece silver. But nevertheless, it still looks great. Also, they've painted the eyes black on this figure, unlike the Earthshock ones. And I actually really like that. I think that works a lot better. I think it just adds a bit more depth to the style of the helmet. Of course, you've got all of this great detail on the chest piece. You've got the tube that runs from the front into the back of the figure. And of course, you've got the black grating at the front. It really is a great figure. He does come with an accessory, which is his cyber gun. Again, this has been accurately painted to the style of gun in Attack of the Cybermen, at which point they painted the guns gold. That was always very strange to me. A race of monsters that are allergic to gold, for some reason, painting their guns gold just seemed very strange. And I guess, particularly when you watch stories like Silver Nemesis, where they seem absolutely terrified at the slightest sliver of gold, that covering your gun in gold? How does that make any sense? But never mind. It's very nicely done. It's a lovely sculpt. You've got the great strap that hangs over the shoulder of the Cyberman. You've got the red detail with the black, and then you've got the gold, and even more finer black lines painted on there around the handle. It's really nicely done. Lastly, we have Sontaran Score, or as the figure actually is, General Staal. So I don't know how they managed to muck this up, whether they put the wrong name on the box, or whether they thought they were getting Sontaran Score and ended up with General Staal. I'm not sure, but the head sculpt is General Staal, it's Christopher Ryan. In terms of articulation, he has articulation at the head, he has the half ball-jointed shoulders, which can move forward, backwards, and out to the side. However, his shoulder pads are blocking those ever so slightly. He has articulation at the biceps, elbows, wrists. He has a ball-jointed waist joint. He has articulation at the hips, which move forward and out to the sides, articulation at the thigh, at the knee, and he also has ball-jointed ankles as well. So this guy has a ton of articulation. So in terms of the detail, again, this is a really great figure. You know, if you've seen my other reviews, you know that I'm not overly fond of the look of these Sontarans. I don't like the blue. You know, I prefer the classic, darkly clad black and silver ones. But in terms as a figure, it's absolutely fantastic. Head sculpt wise, it's very, very good. Looks just like General Staal. There's a lot of fine details there. Some lovely dark washes over the paint just to help that stand out. The paint apps are actually really quite good. The pink on the lips is a bit sloppy, but nothing too bad. And he does seem ever so slightly cross-eyed, but not too bad. You've got the shoulder section in this nice dark metallic blue with finer details sculpted in, the Probic vent at the back, and also his insignia at the front. And then onto the main bodysuit. This is really nicely done. It's got this cool sort of PVC rubbery feel to it, so it almost feels like the actual armour feels. You know, it really does capture the sense of that. You've got the finer details of his little control device attached to his waist. There's even straps and buckles around the undersides of his chest, and you know, this carries on all the way down to the feet. So again, this is a really nice figure. I know a lot of people, when they found out that they were going to make a Sontaran figure, a lot of people wanted the classic Sontaran, because the Sontarans from the classic series were very difficult to get because they only came packaged with the large Sontaran spaceships. And so that put the price up. I think the sets were about £35–40. So it was a lot of money if you only really wanted Lynx or Steyr. So people were a bit disappointed that we didn't get that in the B&M set. However, it's still a really nice Sontaran figure. It's really great. He again comes with some accessories. He has his rifle, which is very nicely sculpted. It's only sculpted in black, but you can see there's a lot of nice details sculpted in there, and that sits in his hands nice and snugly. Because of all of the articulation, you can pose him in a variety of ways. And he also comes with his Sontaran helmet, which is painted with this same blue metallic paint as the rest of his shoulder pads, and you have this clear Perspex piece, and then that just fits nice and snug on top of his head and really just completes the look. It looks really great having the Sontaran like that. So overall, I gotta say I really do like this set. There's 2 new variants here. The Cyber Controller, you know, I'm sure some people who have the original are probably like, well, you know, a slight repaint isn't enough for me to get this, but I actually prefer it, so I'm actually really glad that we've got a slightly different variation of Cyber Controller. The Attack Cyberman I really like. I'm really glad that we've finally got like a clean version of the Attack Cyberman. And then you've got an additional Sontaran here, which is always great for army building and stuff like that. So again, this set is exclusive to B&M stores in the UK. I'm not sure if this is coming out in the US or not. I guess the place to really look would be the Who North America website. They got the previous sets in, so they might get these in too. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all again soon for another Doctor Who action figure review. Bye bye!